Welcome everyone to Hialeah Comic Bro, and this is Slab Men episode 2. And tonight I'm joined by TJ the Slabdragon. Come on, his name says it all.
Hello.
And Man Cave. What's up, Parm?
Hey,
how you guys
what's
doing?
going on, boys? Thanks for having me on, Hialeah. It's good to be with the legend Slabdragon himself.
Man, TJ, I remember when I first heard about, TJ the Slabdragon. Who's TJ the Slabdragon? And then it's like, oh, damn, that's the perfect name. It's perfect. You chose well, my friend. You chose well.
Oh, no, Matt Thanatos gave me that name, and it
Did
stuck.
he really?
Yeah, he gave me that name in one of his shows, and it stuck, and I liked it, and it just went on from there. Yeah.
Oh my God, perfect, Matt. Then you know what? Matt chose well. Awesome, dude. So I'm gonna start it off, guys. First, I want to thank you both for coming on. I'll be highlighting if we got any questions in the chat. We got already Unruly Simeon. We got Funk. We got Chris Barrett. Thank you guys for showing up, man. Appreciate it. How did you guys get introduced to CGC? Because real quick, I was not into comics when CGC started. I had left, and my brother actually told me, "Hey, you got a lot of good comics. There's this new thing about grading." And he goes, "Give me a book. I'm going to send it in." And he did that, and I got it back. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But it was so foreign to me, right? Just encasing a book. I really didn't get into it until much later. How did you guys get started with grading comics?
I'll let the TJ go first, huh?
Well, my first collection I stopped in 1984 and sold it off for college. Huge mistake. But in 2005, when I got back into comic books, I went to the comic book store for the first time since the early 80s in 2005. Saw my first slab and had no idea what it was or anything. I thought it looked cool. Bought it. Still didn't really understand this whole 9.8, 9.6 business because I'm old school. It's near mint or mint.
Exactly.
But about a couple months afterwards, I got the epiphany of, oh, I get it. I understand now. And I just fell in love with it. And it's kind of become an obsession.
Do you still have that first one?
Oh, yeah. I have all my books. I don't sell or trade.
Wow. And was it a modern book or was it an older book?
It just came out in 2005. It was Avengers Finale #1, Neil Adams cover. Because I'm a big Neil Adams nut, always have been. So he's my favorite artist.
And what grade was it? Was it a 9?
It was a 9.8.
9.8. Wow, he started with a banger.
Yeah.
Bam. Nice. How about you, Parm?
Well, I was aware of grading only through Heritage. I was actually looking to buy some photos and some original art, totally not comic related, and I had gotten out of comic collecting at this point. I'd collected up to about 1995, and then put all my comics, wrapped them up in a saran wrap type of thing, and stuck them in a warehouse building for years, and forgot about comics. And then on Heritage, I was looking at things, and I noticed, oh, they have comics too. And then I started looking, and it was graded. I just saw graded. I'm like, graded? What the heck's that? And then I'd see ungraded and graded. And so I was like, oh, I started to realize there was something about this grading. I didn't realize it wasn't a slab or anything like that. And it wasn't until I actually started getting interested in comics again. I went to a local comic store and I saw it on the wall, a slab. I said, okay, that's what they meant. And my first, I had a bunch of raw comics, and I got to know a guy at LCS. He's like, why don't you just send some in to get graded? So I gave him a bunch of my comics to get graded at CGC, and then sort of started from there, man. It was, I'm not as particular as TJ for sure, but with my grading company, but CGC is the top dog for sure. If you want to get value, if you want to get the full value, that's the way to go. But I speculate sometimes on the non-CGC, but yeah, it was first time I heard of it though was like 2005. I wish I was actually buying because it was a lot cheaper back then.
It was a lot cheaper.
When I started actually getting slabs was around 2010, probably around that time.
You kind of touched on it a little bit, TJ. It is an obsession, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, completely. Yeah,
it's totally addicting.
yes.
I want to ask TJ how he stores 2,000 because I had 700 something, and that's a lot.
You seen the pictures of my Instagram of my room? I got to do like jump over stacks just to get right to this one place where this is the only place in the room I can sit.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
you're like Uncle Scrooge, Donald Duck's uncle. You just dive into a bunch of slabs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
I'm
great.
surrounded.
Do you have them in any kind of like order, like chronologically, alphabetically?
No. If I had to find my Hulk 181, I would have to start one pile by one to find out, and it's usually the last pile I pick.
Oh my goodness.
Just looking, and I pile slabs periodically. Looking behind you, seeing that pile, I'm pretty impressed because I've tipped them over a few times.
Oh, I've had a lot of slab avalanches. I mean, it's kind of like dominoes too. One pile hit another pile, hit another pile.
Oh my God, the domino effect! You had the domino effect.
And I'm going,
man.
oh
I'm
God,
impressed.
I gotta pick them all up. They're very durable, though. I've never really cracked one doing that.
I'll agree. It's occasionally I've gotten slabs that are already a little cracked on the side, but I don't think it's ever happened in my possession.
No.
Same thing has happened to me. Same thing has happened to me. And speaking of someone who's cracked the, broken, knocked over some slabs, we get Kenny in the chat.
That's true. Yeah. He's known for doing that.
He's known for it.
He's not allowed near my house.
No, he's not allowed near my house as well. No, I'm kidding.
Kenny, you can come over to my house. I keep him tucked away.
I have an alarm system built just for Kenny.
Nice. I like it. So, TJ, okay. You guys submit to CGC, correct? Or
yeah.
Okay, and you started submitting and all that, because I know not everything you in your collection, of course, is. Do you find you submit more or you buy more comics graded? What's your preference?
You go first.
Nowadays, I buy more comics graded. I do buy more comics graded. Buying raw comics is on eBay is a little treacherous. You just don't know. If I'm buying something that's not overly expensive, I'm not worried about it. But when you start buying more expensive, valuable comics and you can't inspect it, you're in danger of getting the problems that were prior to. The reason CGC is so popular is you sort of know what you're getting. Yes, they're not perfect. They make mistakes. But compared to the old days where you got raw comics that were golden age, who, if they were touched up, trimmed, whatever it was, you had to be very good to see that issue. So valuable comics I don't usually get raw unless I'm getting it from Heritage or something like that. But even they have screwed up on raw comics. They're not, you can't trust 100% I have a friend who collects a lot and he's had some bad stories of buying raw, even on something like Heritage auctions. So I like to know what I'm getting, especially if I'm going for expensive. Now, that being said, you're going to spend more for a graded comic because you know what you're getting. Whereas if you really want to try to get a deal, raw comics are probably the way to go if you have the energy and the time. You agree, TJ, with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I primarily buy only graded books now. But from 2005 for about 8 years after that, I bought lots of raw and submitted them because I had a few sellers that I trusted and they were accurate with the grading, or they undergraded. But they kind of went away, and then I was getting nothing but overgraded books raw. And I said, no, it's not worth it, to buy a book twice.
Yeah, but to the chat, if you have the energy to get raw and then clean them and grade them, that's the way to make money, really.
Oh, yeah.
Buying slabs is not you're paying market price for the most part, unless you're ripping somebody off.
Yeah, if you're doing it to make money and sell, that's the way to go. That's what you want.
Yeah.
If you're just doing it to collect and you're not planning on selling it, get it grade you want.
Right. And that's where TJ and I are very similar. I do trade once in a while, but I've never sold a comic. I've traded a few in when I needed to generate to get a bigger comic, but I don't like trading. I like it, when I trade something, I usually look to get it back as soon as I can in some other form. I have a lot of traders regret.
I've never done a trade. That's something I've never done. Yeah, once they are slabbed, it's hard to get rid of them. But to your point, what I'm doing is slabbing those moderns to sell to get the older books, and that's what I use them for. TJ, you're a big CGC guy, right?
Yes.
You've never bought PGX. We were talking a little backstage. Who was it that you brought up, Man Cave? Volt?
Volt, V-O-L-T. That's like a very small company, and I don't think it lasted too long. I mentioned that as a joke because
I've never heard of it.
It's more esoteric than
Halo was Australian, weren't they?
I think so. I'm not 100. I don't know.
If they're still around or not, but it would make sense that Australia would have their own company, considering how expensive it would be to send it to CGC from there.
I have heard of that. And there's also an EG something, isn't there?
PGX
or something.
CBCS.
Yeah, CBCS. I have some of their slabs in here. I will be sending them to CGC eventually. I have bought PGX in the past, in the early days of my collecting, and I submitted them to get regraded and slabbed, and they've all been horror stories. So
all of them. I've had some good.
One. Yeah.
I've had some good ones where I've at least got the same grade.
No, it came back as restored.
See, that's what I'm worried about. And I'll show you a comic that I have PGX that I'm a little nervous about. I got it significantly under what you would pay for on CGC, likely, but who knows? It could be restored.
Or it could be just fine, or it could be fine.
It could be just fine.
Exactly.
And you're right about the older PGX says the horror stories. The newer one, not maybe, but supposedly better. Who knows?
Now, CBCS, I have nothing but respect for. I think they're a good company. It's just at this point, I think CGC, even for resale, if I ever had to sell something, I would get more bang for my buck from CGC than CBCS.
Yes.
And that's the way I feel about it. I just love the CGC cases. And I know there's a lot of people out there that really hate big time on CGC because they're I take it as they're the big boys, the big kids on the block, and they always like to get picked on. And that's it right there.
That's a PGX, new PGX.
Oh my God.
New PGX is supposedly better, and I got this significantly less than what GPA goes for a CGC, but it is a bit of a risk, and I haven't cracked it open. It's a Silver Age comic, so I'm a little less worried about color touch and the like, but it's possible. It's a gamble.
Yeah, but you never know, because I got this book. I just happen to have it here. I got this raw, sent it to get graded, and it has color touch, which I still am not able to find where it is. I need to get a black light. But but
I got a Avengers 52 that happened to me. I got it raw, and it ended up having a color touch. It was very annoying.
What to you guys? What's the worst thing? Is it a color touch? Is it a trimming? What's the worst?
Incomplete to me would be the worst.
But for restoration, trimming and color touch both are no's in my book. But incomplete, I will not get it restored. If it's not complete, I don't want it.
Right. Exactly. You and I are similar in that one. Some people don't mind getting incomplete, and they, like Mike from Knights of Old, he gets incompletes and has married them he found the pieces and put it together. That's a labor of love.
Yeah, a married comic I have no problem with.
Right.
But for me, having a book that's missing a page or a cover or half a cover, no, I want it complete.
Right.
Yeah. Even if it's only a 0.5, it has to be complete.
Now, for me, I'm less picky. I have rules. For Silver Age and newer, I don't get any restored ever.
No.
For Golden Age, I'll make exceptions for very tough to get comics that would be uber expensive otherwise. For instance, I'll give you
I'm
one
the same
example.
way.
And I almost trimmed is where I usually draw the line, but I'll give you one example here of a comic that I have is trimmed. And it's the only way I could get it cheap would be this.
Yeah.
And it's Marvel Comics #4, first appearance of Submarine on a cover.
Yep.
This is a trimmed, right edge trimmed.
When it comes to a book like that, I probably would actually accept that too.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm already there. In my heart, hasn't got there yet. But
it's tough. I don't like to get it trimmed for sure, but yeah, it's a big comic.
Hey, Chris has a question. Missing value stamps, Marvel value stamps?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. Noper.
And I was one of those kids cutting those stamps out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did as well. For me, it's trimming. Trimming's the one that always scares me to get. The color touch, not as much. Luckily, I haven't had any. I've been lucky so far, but I have been super nervous getting a book back and thinking it was trimmed, and I was on pins and needles, and luckily it came back fine. Yeah. Oh my God, color touch, trim,
pieces added. They can often add a lot of pieces.
Chris Barry just put something in. He was putting something. Let me see real quick. Yeah, the worst is pieces added and then a trim. My goodness.
Because they can, if you've seen some on Instagram, they have where they can really add a lot to a cover that's been destroyed. Yeah. So you're adding a whole lot of stuff to it, making it almost, to some people, a different book. I mean,
it's almost a recreation at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. To your point, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my God, I just lost my train of thought.
Going on pieces added, if they really discussed how many pieces were added or a little more detail, it would probably make collectors a little more happy, because it could be as simple as pieces added to the spine area to fill in some gaps there, to big chunks where they're recreating the art even with the color touch on top of it.
Yeah, but when you got things like tear seals and stuff where it actually get a conserved grade instead of restoration, I don't mind that at all if it's conserved. Yeah, it's when it gets to recreating missing pieces of the cover, like half the cover is a recreation, that kind of thing. That's when I draw the line.
If it's a big enough book and I get a deal, I'll usually be okay with that, because most of the inside's still good. But you're right, it's not ideal.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is, for an older Golden Age book, I wouldn't mind a lot of things. Exactly, which was TJ's point. For modern books, for Bronze Age, for Silver, no
purple.
No purple, no any of that stuff. How do you guys feel about are you big signature guys?
I'm not a huge signature guy.
If I want the book and it has the signature and it's reasonable, and sometimes dealers try to really inflate the value based on a signature. To me, that doesn't really. I'm like, give me a break. If it's anywhere in the within reason and I really want it for that grade, and the signature is not placed in a way that screws up the front cover.
Exactly.
So I will, but I don't go for signatures. You're never going to find me in a line looking to get a signature on a comic. I'm not into that per se, but I have a lot of signature comics just because I wanted the comic. Yeah. And have the signature.
But I'm not going to go after let's say I wanted a first appearance of the Inhumans and Stan Lee's signatures on it. I will avoid any book like that. I would want one without a signature over that kind of.
I don't have a ton of signatures, but I do have a few Stan Lee's, and I'm happy I got him. But there's a little piece of me, man, maybe I shouldn't have, but I now that he's gone, I'm kind of happy. I didn't get to meet him, but I'm like you guys. I'm really not crazy about signatures.
It's not going to hurt the value of your comic for the most part.
It's not.
Some people might even want to pay more for it depending on the situation. So
it is, but you brought up the placement sometimes.
Yes.
It ruins it. I'm not 100% happy with my placement, but it didn't ruin the cover, so I'm okay. I wish it would have been somewhere else, but
Yeah, I think someone was recently showing us a Submariner #1, the Silver Age, and the person signed right on his chest. It almost looked like a brassiere. It was just weird. It's like, why'd you put it there?
Now, I only have one Stan Lee signature, and it's a Fu magazine where they painted a portrait of him with all the different parts of superheroes.
Yes.
Number 17. And the reason why I got that is because I got in line for 2 hours to meet him to get that signature.
Oh, wow.
2013. So that's the only Stan Lee signature I will ever need. But I'm kind of the old school when it comes to signature. In the old days of collecting, a signature actually devalues a comic book in the old days, and a lot of people still believe that, actually.
Well, they would sign in the first page. Remember, that used to be the norm.
The splash page, yeah.
They would never think of signing a cover.
No.
Yeah, when you find Kirby signatures, they tend to be on the inside page. I think, I believe.
Joey Bag of Sevens, have you guys got any fake signatures? Have you ever come across that?
Well, with it's not possible. It's not possible.
Since most of my signatures are already slabbed, I'm assuming they're yellow label. Yeah. I don't have any CBCS maroon sort of CGC. Yeah. I'm a CBCS graded. And, you know, it's funny. Kavi sent me 2 Alpha Flight comics with John Byrne signatures inside, and he forgot John Byrne had signed them, so he accidentally sent them to me. Oh my goodness. Maybe they're fake. John Byrne doesn't like CGC, so they're hard to get. So I have 2 raw comics with his signature on the inside.
Have you tried to verify him, even just looking? Because I do have one John Byrne, and I did that. And it was on the first page, and I went online and I started looking up his signature and trying to see, hey, does it kind of match up?
Since Kavi waited in line and had John Byrne, I got it.
Oh, you're good.
I think he did.
Yeah.
But if he didn't, even then, Kavi knows a lot. I think he was pretty confident, so that's good enough for me.
I only have one green label signature. It's that German Superman Batman #4 with the Michael Turner cover. Mm-hmm. And it actually has Michael Turner's signature on it too, which I know his signature enough to know it's real. But that's the only green label I have that's a signature. But it would have been a green label without the signature, because the majority of those books are green label because they're numbered from 1 through 499 on the back with marker, so they all get green labels.
Oh wow!
You can't get a blue label one, but you'll take the grade hit for writing on the back of the cover.
Yeah.
Man Cave, your collection's more older books, more Bronze Age, more silver. That's what you don't go too much for the modern, right?
Not too much. I have a few, but yeah, I don't get too many modern slabs unless I really like the cover. I'll usually be into the cover or something of that sort. I have a few Art Germ covers that I like, a few Alex Ross covers types for Mortal Hulk. I have Mortal Hulk. I have more Hulk than anything, but I mean it might be 15 comics total out of 700 something that are modern.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of modern either. Yep.
You don't do a lot of modern, right?
No. I mean, it has to be a really good cover artist like the Alex Ross or, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
So
go ahead, Man Cave.
As we were talking about PGX, and I did pull up a comic that I spec'd on for PGX. Old label. But you tell me, it's a day, it's still, I talked to JD about it, and we agreed I should just leave it in the PGX because I could at least sell it for what I had to buy it for. But this is a really hard to get comic. Zip Comics 33.
It is hard to get.
It is one of the top 10 rare comics for MLJ. It's a nurses about to get killed by a Nazi firing squad. And it's pretty, it's crazy. It has supposedly great interiors. Stray Flexen has he actually has the raw comic and showed the inside. They're great. But this is hard to get. You do not have, TJ, you tell me, do not see this.
As all MLJs are not easy to get.
Yeah, this comic came up.
Great.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it, even though it's PGX. And I had a price point. It didn't go beyond that. But I could send it to CGC, and it could be an incomplete trimmed purple. Who knows?
I don't know. If I had that, I'd gamble and send it to CGC. Yep.
Yeah, I'm still tempted to do so.
Because
still...
if that came back even the same grade and blue, that's money.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm still not over the freaking nurses. The Nazis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Some of those World War II covers are just nuts.
Yeah, they didn't mess around, man. They didn't mess around. I mean, Captain America had a machine gun and was killing people. He wasn't, you read one of the first Batman comics, he knocked someone out the window, they died. He's just like, oh well.
and Marvel Mystery, I mean, Toro or Bucky, they're always tied to something.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of bondage stuff, about to die in a gruesome way.
Yes.
Hey, we were talking about the awkward placement of the signatures, and I automatically thought of Los's Steranko with the signature. That's where my mind went, Los. Exactly, your book.
I don't know. The more I think about that book of Carlos, is that's a one of a kind.
It is.
That's a unique, original signature, and it's real, and that should be treasured.
You have to fill me in on this. I'm in the dark here.
Where's I forget. Where's the signature?
It's on the arm like a tattoo.
Yeah, like a tattoo.
He wanted Steranko to sign the book like a tattoo, and instead of the style Steranko usually writes it in, it looks completely different. So it was a miscommunication of how he wanted it, but I think it's unique, and
I like it as well. I like it.
Which comic did he sign it on?
It's the Steranko one where I guess he's holding the Hulk. The Hulk, I think, Annual 1 or something.
Oh, Annual 1.
I would keep it as well. I think it's great. Don't move it, Los. I love it.
So he sticks it on the Hulk's arm?
On the arm, right?
It's like great.
Yeah,
it's right across the arm.
Yeah,
like straight letters instead of his regular signature. That's fancy.
Yeah, it's cool. It fits perfect in his arm. It's like a tattoo.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So.
Do you guys have a lot of Raw books?
I have left. I have probably 1,000 or so.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Right here in front of my desk, just a few.
That's it?
No, I have boxes of them.
Oh, I was about to say.
Surrounding me at this very moment. Not as much as I used to, though. I really got rid of a lot of the filler stuff that I had collected over the years.
Are you guys at the point where it's like, I want this book, but it's okay if I have it raw, or do you have to have do you have to have them slabbed? Because I find myself doing that. It's like, I like this. It's a book I want. Not particularly because of the condition it's in, but I just don't need this in a slab. You guys go.
I know TJ's answer. No.
It's not in my collection. It's in a CGC slab.
Wow.
Yeah. Mine, I do have comics. I don't think I'll get graded, and I don't mind raw, and I actually have one right next to me. This Fun Comics from number 63. It's a nice comic, but it has a rat chew.
Oh my goodness.
What that rat ate that mother.
You know, that kind of book there, any Spectre Fun Comics is I didn't have that thing slabbed 1.5. That will still present pretty well.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if I want to get it graded, and it's fun to read. It's a great comic. Otherwise, it has pretty nice page quality, and it's just cool. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's probably
now you tell me, TJ, it does miss stuff. It has word bubbles are chewed out. So would it be an incomplete? It would hurt me to have to call it an incomplete, because it really is complete.
I'm not sure if they would call that incomplete or not. I think they would actually say it's been munched on.
If they would say that, then I'm going to get it graded, because that would be cool.
Because I've had books that said mice bites. Yeah.
Did you buy it like that, or
Yeah, I bought it like that. I didn't let a rat chew it. No, I bought it like that.
I was about to say, did that happen after purchase?
That would be something. It was from someone's collection. I forget who. Someone's collection, and they were such a high esteemed collection. They let rats chew on their comic.
That's why you should never have a collection in a storage unit or a shed.
Yeah. But I love it, and it's fun to open and look at this big old chunk that mouse chewed. But
hey, it's kind of cool. The rat gnawed on a nice spot, right?
Yeah, like it took out. He didn't like the Spectre's head, man. He just took his head out. Boom.
That's perfect. It was almost He had good placement on his chew.
Yeah. So I don't mind having just raw comics, and I won't necessarily always send it. But I'm sort of like TJ. I do for valuable comics. I sort of for conservation and putting it up on my wall and stuff. I do like to have it graded, but I do have a good amount of raw that I may never get graded. Baby Yoda would have just eaten the whole comic, man. He don't mess around. Groku.
Now, do you specialize in Golden Age?
No, I have lots of bronze and silver.
Yeah.
Lots of bronze and silver. Yeah, I love it all. I love it all from the early 90s to 1938.
Yeah, I like it all too. I only have like 150 Golden Age.
Yeah.
Only?
Good amount, man. Yeah, only.
What was it that the guy in The Godfather says about The Godfather? You know, when he gets killed by Michael Corleone, and they said something about, oh, kudos to your dad, or he says something about oh my God, I can't remember the line. Anyway, TJ, do you guys have a set, and Man Cave, like Bronze Age, I want 6 and up. Do Golden Age, I could deal with, 2, 3, depending on the condition. Because I know that both of you guys have some beautiful Bronze Age books and some nice high grades. And do you guys make that a point, or is there a price point that you don't want to go, or it just depends on the book? Well, how do you guys figure that out?
You go.
I have a pretty set self-imposed standard that I stick to. Modern has to be 9.6 and up. 9.4 if it's really expensive, but 9.6 and up for modern. Bronze Age has to be in the 9s. Must be in the 9s. Preferably 9.2 and up. Silver Age, I used to have it as it has to be 8.0 or up. But for early Silver Age, I'm going to try to go as low as 6.5 on some of the early stuff.
It looks like it hurts.
It does, but I mean, I have a Fantastic Four number 12, 6.5, and it doesn't bother me. So the others shouldn't bother me either, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
It bothers you, don't it? I could see it in your face.
And Golden Age, it doesn't matter what the grade is, as long as it presents well and it's complete.
So I'm way more broad. I don't have nearly the standards as TJ does. I agree with modern. I tend to want at least 9.6, though I bought an Alex Ross cover that I love so much that at some point I just send it along with a lot of my other stuff, and I knew it wasn't going to be a 9.8. So I'm okay. It's not an investment or anything. It's just I just wanted it slab to present it. But for the most part, I stick to that for modern. But after that, it diverges. I have lots of Bronze Age comics that present well in the 6.5 range, and I don't want a low grade bronze usually, but I'm not going for the highest graded. It doesn't have to be above 9, that's for sure. That would be difficult to achieve. The things I want, that would become very expensive. Silver, even less so, but again, it has to nothing restored. I tend not to go below 3.0 in silver, unless something every once in a while a comic store it'll drop in my lap, and I'll just be like, yeah. What the hell? Like,
don't break any slab.
like this is one of my few silver 1.5s. But you know, Amazing Spider-Man #2, it's a tough one. It presents pretty well. Yeah.
Is it really?
I mean,
Yeah. It's
Nice.
one of my birthday books. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So at some point I might upgrade it, honestly, but I fall into that trap. Once I have it, I say to myself, I'll upgrade someday, and then I never do.
You know what, Mankey, hold that book up again.
Here, let me take it out of the bag.
Dude, that's a nice 1.5.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has, you can see the rough edge here.
On the edge.
That's where it gets messed up. But there's a lot of fraying. But
it still looks like it should be higher than a 1.5.
Definitely. That's a nice book. That's a nice 1.5.
Look at the back, though. It got a big chunk out right here. Now, I don't mind, you know, just like TJ said, a lot of the time the front will look good and the back's beat up, and they'll grade harshly on the back being chewed up, but the front being beautiful. So that's when they really present well, is when there's a big chunk or something out of the back, but the front is otherwise good, because it's like the full wraparound cover. They grade it harshly, whether it's the back or the front. So if you can get the bad stuff in the back and the front, you get better presenting comics. But usually I'm going 3.0 or higher. But
that presents well. It's in the back and just on the spine. For that book, I would see I'm a lot less. Like a 6.5 to me in a bronze is almost perfect.
Right, I'm okay with mid grade for most bronze.
8.0 for me, and a bronze is perfect. 6.5 still look good. 5s, it just depends. I know, TJ. I'm sorry, but that's me. As long as it doesn't have some ugly creases cutting it all around it, I stand that. I can't stand the creases.
And you know, as we were discussing in gold, it just has complete is my ultimate. I like complete.
Of course.
If it's a huge comic, I'll take trim, but I'm otherwise not doing trimmed. Color touch, if it's pretty big, I'll go with some of those things, but otherwise I'm not usually going for a whole lot of restored, unless if it's something I can get not too hard. And TJ will probably agree that gold sometimes is undervalued. You can get a lot of reasonable good gold compared to the price of Silver Age comics nowadays and some bronze. It's if you know, it depends on what you want. You can go crazy with the price, or you can get some very reasonable, cool stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of really affordable Golden Age books that collections in, especially fall. Yeah,
just like who was on with you last time, Hialeah? It was Comic 60.
Comic 62 at Vancouver Comic Joe.
Yeah, he was talking about how he has that Wiz Comics or All Winners. I think it was an All Winners, and how could that be worth less than Amazing Spider-Man 300? 300.
And it's true. And it's true.
Yeah. I know Venom's big, but there's thousands of those comics. Whereas, you know, All Winners, good luck. This one I have, there's only 11 CGC graded comics, and I don't know how many PGX, but there's 10 Blue Label, 1 restored. That's it.
That is crazy. I kind of I want to just touch on Alex, because I kind of feel the same way. I like to pay the appropriate price for the book and the condition I find it. It's kind of like, as long as I'm happy with the condition and the price, it's got to work out. Let me highlight that.
I just recently got this. This is my latest Golden Age book.
I love it. That's what I'm trying to get, TJ. It's a Hitler cover, even though he's in the portrait.
Yeah, this is only there's only 2 issues of Miss Fury that have war-themed covers, and this is one of them. Number 2, I believe, was the other. And this is not an easy book to find. There's only like 26 of these, I believe, graded. And this is it presents really well for a 3.0 too.
That's a beautiful.
It took a hit because the cover is detached, which doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
In Golden Age, it doesn't bother me.
What year is that?
1944.
My goodness. But if you look, Hialeah, there's a portrait of Hitler on it.
Yeah.
And that raises the price of that comic dramatically. That, even though it's not a live action of Hitler, that is one of I'm after that one too. So I'm jealous that TJ has it.
That's a beautiful copy too.
I made an offer on it, and I got it for $600. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, that's very reasonable for that grade, and with a Hitler on front, that's a very reasonable price.
When we were backstage, you guys something I've never done. I don't know if I ever will, but you guys, I think Man Cave, you brought up heritage auctions.
Right.
How do those work? And those are some big books in those auctions.
Well, the three big ones are Heritage, Comic Link, and Comic Connect. They're all sort of the big kahunas for big golden age comics. And there's some other smaller auction houses that do big books sometimes too. And the only reason I was on Heritage is they have a lot of Heritage has, like I bid on a Frazetta sketch piece once. They have photos, like I bid on some Ansel Adams photos. They have art, Western art, European art, modern art. They're a comics is just one little subsection of Heritage. They have a huge amount of things they auction. They auction silverware, they auction Chinese relics, whatever. They have coins, etc. Whereas Comic Link and Comic Connect pretty much stick to comics, video games, occasionally baseball cards, and coins once in a while. So they're big. And Comic Connect is well known for action. They've sold more Action Comics #1 than any other auction. But any one of them will have massive books that you could mortgage a house for. It's yeah. And they have monthly, Heritage has weekly auctions, and then they'll have quarterly bigger auctions with big books. Like they recently had a 9.4 Batman #1, I think, which is crazy high grade for that. And Comic Connect they have auctions every few months that are big ones. And then they'll have monthly to weekly auctions that you could still get big stuff on. But yeah, it's. But you know what's the funny thing? People think you always pay premium. I've gotten good. If you are clever, if you're patient, you can get better deals on them than you get on eBay. If you're not careful, you'll spend more than you would on eBay. So you have to know you have to know what its value is if you can. But I've gotten AF-15 significantly below GPA because it was a Sunday auction after a really big auction. I think people were fatigued from spending a lot of money, and it went for much less than I thought it would. And it was a good comic. I ended up trading it for something else, which it still hurts me today. But
though you mentioned Ansel Adams, do you collect his work too?
I bid on a few of his stuff, but I actually don't have any of it. It went for too much. A lot of money. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of his. My first major in college was photography. So,
yeah, there were a few things early on when I first bid on. One was the raising of the flag at Iwo Jima. I forget the photographer's name. It's a famous photograph. Yeah. That went for like 10 grand, and that was just like I wasn't going to spend that much. And also the guy kissing the nurse in Times Square, the kiss after the war was over. It's a very famous picture. I bid on that once. Didn't get it though. That was
on the cover. Was it Time or?
Yes, I believe so.
Right?
Time or
Life or Time.
Yeah. I always hear NYC talking about, like, I've been on a show a few times with him, and it's like we're trying to schedule it, and he's like, "All right, I can't do it because Heritage his auction is ending here, and I can't do it." How does that work? Do they like showcase all their books, and you know exactly what's coming up, and then it finally happens?
So I have an app where I could look at the thing, and I can actually you can bid beforehand up to whatever.
Okay.
And it's open bidding, and then there's a point where it says internet bidding's closed, and then it starts the auction like a real auction. If you were in Texas, you'd have an auctioneer be like, "Hey, blah 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 blah," bing bing going on, and it goes through each lot. You'll see the lot number, so you sort of get an idea, but you don't know when yours is going to come up, and you have to be there live to press a button to say bid, and someone else might bid, and you just get like 10 seconds to bid if someone bids over you, and it'll move on to the next lot just like that. Boom, boom, boom. It's going like a new comic or new auction lot every 10 to 20 seconds.
Are you serious? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It moves when the live bidding starts. You got to be ready. I've had many a times where I wanted to be there and spaced out, and then boom, I missed it.
that for me, that would be dangerous because that's where I would overbid.
I've been there, man. You gotta have some discipline. You have to have it in your mind. You got to let go.
Oh, yeah. My
It's
discipline is
GPA
I
helps me
avoid-
because I'll see where the GPA is for Silver Age. For stuff that has GPA, I'll have a good idea of what it's worth, and I won't go beyond that. It's like I'll be patient. But for Golden Age, it's way more difficult because there's not a. Sometimes you'll get a Golden Age comic. The last one was sold in 2016. You won't even have any clue what the value really is. So you just have to sort of have an idea what you're willing to spend and go with it.
That's crazy. Something I want to bring up, because I think TJ, I think you brought it up in the past when I've seen you on other channels. And that is the CGC forums. I think you brought that up before that I don't remember what context it was, but I could have sworn that's what you brought up, CGC forum.
I bring up the registry a lot, but not the forums. The forums, I'm not technologically savvy when it comes
Me
to
neither.
that stuff. And I'm having the same problem with the CGC forums I have with that Discord texting thing that people are jumping in on. I don't understand how to use that either. And but the registry, I'm definitely on the CGC registry and that kind of stuff.
CGC registry, you just put your comics in. I put a lot of stuff in, but it sort of annoys me because you can't just put all your comics in and it sorts. You have to like pick a category and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I find that a little annoying, but it's cool to have it. That's the reason why when I have a PGX, I'm like, damn, I can't put it in some registry. The forums are good. A lot of people are in them. You can, if you have a want list, if you have a comic you want, or people talk about comics, I don't get too hung up on it.
Is that what it's mainly used for? Just people comics on the forums?
Yeah, they sell comics they sell it on the CGC forum. They make deals or show their lists or just talk about CGC, talk about whatever. You know, the person who does a lot of that is Knights of Old and JD, I think, are often on there. I did a little bit, but I don't have enough. I feel like my time's already.
Exactly.
You can fall down rabbit holes with these things, man. Instagram's bad enough.
Now, the CGC registry, I'm very glad I started in the beginning putting my books on there because it is time consuming. To create the sets and put the numbers in and stuff. And but all my books are on the registry. And I'm having the problem with listing my books on Go Collect right now. I only have like 1,400 listed on Go Collect so far because it is also time consuming. Now, one by one.
Do they have all the things on Go Collect? They have all the pictures when you put it in and stuff? And
yes. Yeah.
Because I think I tried that on Key App at some point, but then I tried to put some little Lulu comic I had that didn't have it, and I was just like, heck with it. Maybe I should do that on Go Collect.
I don't put my pictures on anything. I just let Go Collect do the little screenshot picture.
Right. Yeah, they'll do their own.
Yeah, because I just want to know kind of where the value is, even though I'm not selling. I still like to know that it has some value. And I'm very happy with what they're telling me.
And registering's not a bad idea. My someone I know who collects a lot, he has a lot of baseball cards too, and some kid stole his baseball cards and tried to sell it to a comic store near where I work, funny enough. And the dealer there was a little suspicious, so he just checked. They were graded, so he checked and he found out who it was, and they caught these kids stealing his company.
I had some books stolen out on the back of my car at my friend's house that were graded, and I got them back because they were on the registry. Yep. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Recently, a recent Batman, huge famous Golden Age collection of Batman comics was recently sold on Heritage, and the guy who had been diligently collecting these Batman comics for decades, they were all stolen out of. He had like a storage, one of those rent a storage things, and
it was right here. It was right here in Florida. It wasn't far from me. I saw it.
And the people who stole it luckily didn't break them out of the slab, and they actually sold them already slabbed, so they got busted, and it made the guy so nervous. That's why he decided just to sell this stuff, because it was just too nerve-wracking. And that's the 9.4 Batman I was just telling you about.
Yeah.
Was from that.
Even Nicolas Cage, his Action Comics #1 that was stolen from him 10 years later that was found in a storage unit. The guy put it on for sale, but because of the registry number, it said, "Oh, this thing is hot. This doesn't belong to you." Yep.
Yeah.
Could you guys ever imagine comics getting to this point? The prices, like when we were, well, yeah, we're pretty close in age. We're not that far off. In the 70s, I remember, man, looking at the price guys. Can you imagine going back in time and buying some of those books at the prices that they were back then? I think
like giant size X-Men for $15 in the inside the comic.
I remember looking at it. I was like, oh my god, a giant size X-Men and a 94. It's one's going for 50 and the other one's going for 40. It's like, oh my god, humongous money.
Now I couldn't imagine for Bronze Age and some of the Silver Age, but to me, when I was a kid, Golden Age were millions of dollars. As far as I was concerned, they were priceless just because they were Golden Age. Even if it was like, who cares, Golden Age, that you could actually probably buy pretty cheap now.
But
it was all about how old it was. It didn't really matter about the key appearance or anything like that. If it was a 10 center, it was all about the 10 cents, 12 cents, 15, 10 center is worth more than a 12 center.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bronze Age, the Golden Age was only 30 years old. I mean, it's like, it's like you could buy a copy of Superman #1 in near mint for $600 in the 70s.
I know, it's crazy.
The 70s, right? Yeah. The thing about it though was, where were you gonna find one? It wasn't like you weren't connected. Your shop wasn't going to have that. It was so hard to find one.
I remember I was visiting my grandmother in Manhattan. I went to this comic store in Uptown, and they had the first appearance of Robin, the Detective Comics 38, on the wall, just sitting there. And I was just like, I was just in awe. I was just staring at this thing. And I wish I remembered the price. I'm sure by today's standards, it would have been a deal. But
of course.
I know it was a few $100, but it wasn't massively. But to me as a kid, it might as well have been $1 million. But
too, what TJ brought up at the beginning of the show, back then, any book you would get, oh man, this is near mint. Look at this. This is near mint. Just every book was near mint to us. At least for me, where I grew up, we would all look at our books. Dude, look at this. And there was no Mylars. It was just regular. This is near mint, man. Oh, yeah, that's near mint, man. For, little 10-year-old kids, like we knew anything of what a near mint was. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then I made my own comic book bags out of Ziploc lunch bags. They had the alligator skin feel. Before they had comic book bags. Yeah.
Before they had comic book bags, man. I think when I was like 10, I think they started in the early 70s, right? Mid 70s, something like that.
Yeah, I had comic bags from the beginning, so it was like 78 probably for me. But yeah.
How did these books survive?
Yeah.
How did these books survive, man?
Well, Edgar Church just had them in piles, raw.
As a little kid, though, I would cut poster board that was kind of stiff, stick it in the Ziploc bag and tape it closed and put the comic book in it. I was OCD with condition even then.
Nice.
You were ahead of your time.
You were.
And I would buy 2 copies usually, one to read and one to store.
Yeah.
Definitely ahead of your time. No,
you were way ahead of your time.
You were way ahead.
Did you buy things like Star Wars toys and buy one to store and buy one to play with?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Wow.
I had all the Mego action figures too. Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I was the opposite, TJ. I remember I bought a Amazing Spider-Man annual #1 for like $5. By the time I was done with it, a week later, the cover was detached.
Yeah.
It was on the floor.
I used to get the tracing paper and trace on my covers and do all that stuff.
I also a couple of X-Men 94s and Giant X-Men #1s were actually used to make collages.
Oh my god! Oh god, that hurts me now.
Yeah. But you're right, Hialeah. You had nowhere to buy old comics when you were a kid, so it was all stuff I get out of the Circle K or 7-Eleven,
of course,
off the rack. And when I was a kid, I would drag my mom to flea markets. Every Saturday there was a flea market, but there was no rhyme or reason to when someone was selling comics. So sometimes you'd walk the whole thing and maybe find one little comic in a bag, or every once in a while you'd hit pay dirt and some guy would have like 10 long boxes of stuff. So, that's where I got like an old Detective Comics. I got Fantastic Four #10, but these were like massive finds for me as a kid. I was just like, wow, couldn't believe it.
Hey, check out NYC. He's entering his CGC numbers into this is painful. It sounds painful. I haven't done that. I have not done any of these apps. But I might hit up just a little podcast because he's been talking about it here.
No, yeah. Now when I buy a new comic book, I would sit down and I put it on the registry for CGC. Then I would put it on Go Collect, and then I would actually put it on my SLAB Comics because I've already taken a picture of it, and because I list all my books on my SLAB Comics too, which is I think is a cool site. You get to see a lot of people's collections. Yeah.
Do you give people your username so they can look at what you have, or do you keep that a secret?
I think it's under my real name is all I always use. Yeah.
Okay, you just use TJ Slabdragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comic Mags has a question.
On CGC is just TJ Watson. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Begin to look it up. Just go to number 76 in the registry. There I am.
All right. Yeah, I'll go check it out.
70.
Mine is got milk, as in not the question, but the statement. Got milk.
Got milk. You got milk. I like it. Hey, Meg has a question.
But it's incomplete. I just started it, and it's highly incomplete. I got to get more.
Do you guys collect the artists?
Oh, yeah.
I know you mentioned Neil Adams before.
Man Cave, go first.
Well, that's easy for me because I don't go down that rabbit hole. As one of the first things I ever bid on Heritage was a Frank Frazetta Death Dealer sketch. And that was probably the last original art I bid on, and then it was comics after that. So yeah, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole.
No, I mean I do collect original art too, but I think he was asking about do we collect a specific artist for comic books?
Yeah.
Oh.
And for me, it's Neil Adams. I have to own everything he's ever drawn on a cover. I'm limiting the covers because that's going to be hard enough. Wrightson's up there, Michael Turner's up there, Adam Hughes, Alex Ross, and I just discovered a new artist today I had to go check into called John Watson. Mm-hmm. I seen a couple of his covers and I said, wow, this is really good stuff too. Art Germ, he's hit or miss with me, but Wrightson and Adams are the two big ones. So
I will then now that I understand the question correctly, I'm sort of with you. I actually like Bronze Age. I've collected keys. I don't collect runs, but one of the things I do collect are Neil Adams covers. So I have a huge amount of Batman and Superman Neil Adams covers. Yep. I'm working on Brave and the Bold and World's Finest, and I got a good amount of his horror, which I feel he's underrated for horror.
Yeah.
And Wrightson, I love his horror, and I love Jack's Sperling horror, Bronze Age horror too. But for Schoenberg, Kirby, no doubt the big ones like that. But I don't necessarily just go for the artists because I like a lot of Barry Windsor Smith, but I don't like some of his stuff too. I don't go for everything on his, and I could. Say that the same with Gil Kane, and I mean, there's so many great artists that if I like the comic, I'll get it, but I'm not going for their
Jim
whole.
Starlin, one for me also.
Yeah, Jim Starlin, big fan.
But the only one that I must own all by is Wrightson and Adams. That's the one I want to complete.
That's a manageable list, TJ, even for you, if you only go for the covers.
How far along are you on getting like every Neil Adams cover? How far along are you in that aspect?
I'm not sure about the percentage. I know I'm number 6 on the registry, I believe, for his cover set.
That is crazy.
So they have a Neil Adams category on the CGC registry that you're on. That's pretty cool.
Wow,
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they have a Wrightson one too. They have a lot of cover artists sets. Do
you go for any runs, TJ? Like, do you go like some people love to get?
Oh yeah,
Fantastic Four 1 through 100 or something.
I'm after a Warren Vampirella complete run. I mean, after a Savage Sword of Conan complete run, and Vampirella, I'm 77% done, and on Savage Sword, I'm probably 60% done. But there's a lot more Conans than there were the Vampirellas.
Yeah, that Savage Sword, that got pretty high. I had boxes of Savage Sword of Conan.
236 copies.
Yeah.
And I set a standard for myself. I only can do 9.6 and up on that one.
Wow.
And on Vampirella, it's 9.2 and up. And the only set I've actually completed so far, I have a complete set of the 1980s Moon Knight run. 9.6 and higher. Yeah.
Sienkiewicz, yeah, that's a...
Oh my God,
a beauty.
That is so hot right now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I bought it all before it got hot.
You must be overjoyed because it's going to even, in the next couple of years, that's just going to be crazy. And
nobody's specking on Moon Knight for a while. I hope they do something with him, you know?
It's in production. It's happening.
Yeah.
But those were all dollar books, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really wanted them. Amazing covers. But now in a 9.6, man, that is crazy.
9.6 and up, yeah.
And up.
I have 9.9. I do have one 9.9. The one where he's like the Werewolf by Night and him are
facing each other?
Yes, I have that 9.9.
Wow.
See, I have a problem with the whole 9.9 thing.
9.9?
You know, I feel like people have a false sense of security with what a slab does to protect a comic. So when you get a 10 or a 9.9, I think the odds of breaking that open and getting it resubmitted and having that same grade are infinitesimally small.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't trust that to be true because I could literally just go like this, you know, boom, 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 and that might go from a 10 to a, you know, and page quality degrades regardless of what you do. And, you know, if you're in a dry environment.
Is false. I mean,
right.
For Bronze's comic, it's white pages today. Could be cream in a few years, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, a lot of people love to say, I'm going to get the old label as if that's, and a lot of times old labels aren't pressed and clean. And by old label, do I have one?
Well, people
have an old label on you?
They don't even have it right.
Yeah. But for all you know, it was stored, who knows what, it could have been from 2005 in a moist environment, left in the sun for a second, who knows? And that page quality might have gone down in 15 years. So some people spec on those as being upgradable because they were more strict about grading potentially back then too, as a lot of people feel. But, you know, you might not get your return on that one if you decide to put it back in there, depending on how it was stored.
You know, a lot of people look at this label here. And they say,
that's not old. Yeah.
That's not old. But a lot of people think it is. This is not old.
I agree with I've heard people say it all the time, TJ. They don't know what old is. You're right.
Yeah, this is not old. This is old.
Yes.
That is old.
That's the old label. When people say the old label, that's the old label.
Yeah. I had just bought this about a month ago, and I'm thinking about having this pressed and graded, regraded, because the only thing that's wrong with this thing is right here on the bottom.
Oh, look at that on the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could get that flattened out, maybe.
It looks pressable, but there's a little spot here. Let's see. You see that little place there? That actually could come off if it's not done right. There's a little
tick. Yeah, it's like a little. It could. Yeah.
So I'm kind of wary about actually having it tampered with, but I mean, these corners are sharp. I mean, there's no spine ticks. It's a 9.2, and who knows what could happen. I'm thinking about doing it, sending it to the CCS, and doing a show about, you know, a lot of people are against CCS right now for some valid reasons, and see how it ends up, you know.
I'm one of those people. I will never send anything to CCS.
I've heard, you know, I've never sent to CCS, so I don't know. But I've heard some people like DS say they had something that was messed up when it went there.
Yeah, I had one bad experience with them. Is I sent a bunch of books to them. One, it takes forever. Two, half the books I sent them, they didn't touch. They were not pressed because the same defects were on it when I got them back. They were definitely pressable. I mean, the one they did press, they did a great job on. But I had a problem with, hey, well, why didn't you touch the others? You know.
Truth be told, I've sent stuff to get cleaned and pressed by non-CCS people, and I had a giant size X-Men I bought. It probably would have upgraded, I feel, a whole point. But when they were pressing it, they ripped it a little bit.
I mean, you got to be careful with your pressers. You got to find a good one, and you got to stay with them, because the majority of pressers out there are amateurs, and they're damaging books. I hear that from the people at CGC all the time. People are killing their books because they don't know what they're doing, and that's the majority of pressers out there.
But haven't you seen now? Almost everybody's pressing books.
Yeah,
it's of course they're not gonna all be the same,
No.
and everybody's pressing books. Everybody has a press.
Yeah. When it comes to this, it's like representing yourself in a court trial and being your own lawyer, because you have a fool for a client. That's what I think about pressers. You don't do it yourself unless you actually really are well practiced in doing it, because you are probably doing more harm than good. And when you find a good presser, stay with them.
Yeah.
Treat them well. Be loyal, because they're irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And even they could make mistakes, and things could happen.
Could make mistakes.
You're always taking a risk.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. My first presser back in 2005, until he sold out and became part of CGC, was Matt Nelson. He's a father of pressing. He did an incredible job.
Yep.
Alex just brought him up.
Oh.
Matt Nelson.
Yeah. He was my first presser.
Well, yeah, I try to avoid sending high dollar books to press, honestly. I just feel it's, unless it's obviously a pressable. Like I think I told Hialeah this, I got a Tech 29 I traded in my AF-15 and some other things for it. The guy I got it from, it was 3.5 when he got it. He sent it to get pressed and cleaned. It came back a 3.0. So obviously it didn't go well for him. Went well for me because it was cheaper, but
there's no guarantees.
There's no guarantee, man.
The most thing they have is most when people are doing it right is they have that pancake effect. Too much pressure, and it makes the staples deform, and it just flattens out too much. And they notice that stuff. That will hit you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand when the book that has a fingerprint on it, fingerprints hit you hard. It's not handled right. They'll take a big bump, because a lot of people don't think about touching the book and there's a little fingerprint somewhere. That's a hard hit.
So are you a proponent for putting on gloves to handle raw comics? I see some people do that and some people really scoff at it.
I'm an opponent of not touching my books anymore out the back. Because
so me manhandling my fun comics was causing you distress.
I had a first appearance of him in Fantastic Four. It was I took it out of the bag because I thought I just wanted to inspect it before I sent it out to get pressed, because it was like a 9.2 candidate, and my allergies kicked in and my nose dripped on it.
What?
Oh man!
Without any warning. So I sent that one to Matt Thanatos as one of his gifts, and said, with a post-it note that said, "This book has my DNA on it. You can now phone me."
TJ, I was getting cocky and I got this one. I love this cover. It's one of the few Stalin covers right here. Joseph Stalin, Hammer Sickle, Ziff Davis. And I opened it and I freaking did a tape pull on it, man. First tape pull I've done since I was a kid. I was like, oh, right when the tape hit it, I was like, no, freaking tape pull, man.
I did that with a
right in the front.
A Nightmare magazine from Skywall Publications. It was a beautiful condition. It's probably 9.4 or higher, and I took it out of the bag, and the tape got stuck, and I ripped it. And I've never seen a copy of it since. It's killed me.
Yeah.
Tape will do it for you.
Yeah. And Mylar, if anybody here's dealt with Mylar, you got to be careful putting the comic back in a Mylar, because that Mylar will shear a comic.
Yeah.
It'll cut deep.
I have not had that experience. I've had a ton of tape pulls, and you never forget the tape pulls, or you never forget the book that got the tape pull, right?
Yeah.
And then when you come across them, let's say you're looking for them and you see it, and oh, God.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it was Simple Simon or Simon's Comics.
Mm-hmm.
He was unboxing his first Golden Age comics ever. It was a Batman or late Golden Age, and he freaking Mylar. He detached the cover on the Mylar. I think. I think so. I'm not 100% sure that's what he did, but he did something to it. It was. Luckily, it wasn't a massively expensive comic, but it was still.
Hey, on the point of Alex is just putting on saying that he puts on medical gloves when he preps his books. Do you remember a few months ago there was a big old thing about this guy from CGC handling I forget which book exactly it
Superman
was.
1.
And without the gloves, and that was such a big brouhaha. Everybody was freaking out.
It was no big deal to me at all.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't a big deal.
He's palming it in one hand and flipping really good because he's an expert with the other. It was not doing any damage to that book whatsoever.
Exactly.
Right.
But people blew up.
Well, people wear gloves for their comics all the time, and I find it a little funny.
The thing that gets me funny is when they're handling bagged and boarded books with gloves. I'm like, why? I know you guys. I know you've seen it because I've seen it a ton.
Yes, on auction. Sometimes I see it on Thorough's auction. Some of those guys pull it out with these gloves. They look like bikers almost, and they have these gloves on.
They're bagged and boarded.
I think that had more to do with marketing than anything else.
Maybe.
Yes. Hey, we're already over an hour, but I have a few more things.
Sure.
Do you guys like? I know we're mainly CGC, but there's a lot of debate over CBCS grades so much harder. CGC is not as consistent. I am not in that ball. I'm not in that agreement at all. I think it's just hate. CGC is the big boy on the block. They're gonna get the most hate. How do you guys feel?
The reality is, I'll go first here, TJ. CGC comics are worth more. Mm-hmm. So regardless of how they do, whatever's on that label is going to gain you more money if you're investing, if you're worried about that. If you're truly worried about grade quality, that's people's opinions. You probably get a doofus grading every once in a while at CGC, especially if it's not important books, and you're going to get really good. I think CBCS does a good job, but they're just a lower tier company, and that's just the way it goes right now. And it's all about supply and demand. But anybody who makes those kind of generalizations, I think, is being silly and being a hater, and might pull out one anecdote of a bad situation. But you could pull that anecdote out for CBCS as well easily if you look hard enough. So
exactly.
What do you say, TJ?
CBCS, I've had some copies I had regraded by CGC, and they came back a higher grade than the CBCS, or the same grade. And so I don't really think they're graded harder. I don't think either one of them does it. But CGC, it's not graded by one person having a bad day.
Of course.
There are 3 graders that grade that book. And then a supervisor goes over the results and gives it the final grade. It's not one person doing it. I'm not sure how CBCS, if they do the same kind of a system, they might, because the founder is from CGC. So they both might do that. But it's just not one.
Now, I will say, I think CGC promotes that a little bit, but for the sake of time, I'm willing to bet that they're like, we trust you, Bob. I mean, especially with some modern, with some Golden Age biggies, I would be willing to bet they do that strictly. But knowing how people are, I'd be wondering if they do that for the thousands of modern comics they get. But if they do, good for them. I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't, and I think they do a good job. Obviously, I love CGC. I buy it all the time.
I wonder how many books they ever got where the grader, there's like a $20 bill stuck in the book.
I've heard that story.
Happens because it had to happen at least a few times.
It had to, you would think, right?
That is a great idea. I'm gonna do it.
See what the result is. Yeah.
That's funny.
The thing
Never
I
heard that.
think gets lost on people is the sheer number of books that they must receive.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's got to be overwhelming. They have to have a quota. Every grader has to have a quota. Hey, you got to grade a certain amount of books. I would think, right? Because it's productivity. Most jobs you're looked on as how productive you are. So they have to have a quota.
Well, their graders are, they've been doing it a long time. They know what they're doing. It doesn't take a long time to grade a book. Yeah.
And people who hate on slabs highly, the thing that people don't appreciate, it stabilized the market, because before you had grading, just like we were saying, if you're buying a Golden Age book, good luck. It could be restored, it could be trimmed, it could be. You had to be an expert you had to be very experienced at least to get that. So it's given the market confidence, even if it's a little off. You're right. You could take a CGC slab and send it back, and it might go up or down a point. It does happen, but for the most part, you're in that ballpark 99% of the 0.9% of the time, and unless someone did something crazy with the slab and then resend it and messed it up. So it's stabilized. You know what you're getting. You're trading in a commodity that you really can trust a lot more. And that's what it has done, along with the internet's accessibility to getting stuff. That's partly why comics have gotten so much more expensive, because people are more confident in what they're getting, and it's way easier. You don't have to go searching through a flea market or go to a convention to buy anything. So you can hate it for that too, because it's made comics more expensive to some extent, probably the stability of it.
I think CGC actually saved the hobby. I mean, in 2000 when they started, the hobby was on the way out. It was sales were declining. The comic book companies were in trouble. Everything was on the down.
That plus the movie industry really helped it.
It helped too. Yeah. But I think CGC made it all right to buy online.
It made it so you can trust it and buy online, because if right now when I buy a raw comic from eBay, I'm looking at it carefully, and I'm not usually buying an expensive one. I'm just buying something I like that's, $100 or less. And it's just like, I've gotten plenty of times where it's not what I expected, and I don't get too upset about it because it's the way it goes with that.
Have you guys ever thought about, there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to reslab all these books, because the slabs I've heard, I don't know if anybody knows for sure, they last 10 years, 15.
That's a myth. That's a myth.
Yeah, they last longer than that. Otherwise, we'd have to reslab those old ones already.
Oh, I could imagine.
What needs to be changed out, if you want, because it doesn't hurt the book at all, is the micro chamber paper that's inside. That only has a life of 7 to 10 years. So you don't need to slab a book otherwise. It's not going to change. It's not going to deteriorate. It's like it's just. The books I bought in 2005 are exact same shape it is today. The only thing that the micro chamber paper is inert. It's just a piece of paper now. It doesn't do anything to absorb the toxic fumes anymore. But otherwise, you don't have to reslab books. That's a myth. That's something that's been promoted by the anti-slab people.
You know what? I could see that. I could see that being the case. I could see that being the case. And the micro chamber paper inside is not going to damage it either one way or the other.
It's a piece of paper now. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, how you store it's important, because
the older books that are rare and you want to preserve them a little longer, you might want to consider having that changed out and reslabbed. But that's just a reslabbing fee. So
exactly. It's just a reslabbing fee.
Yeah.
Man, guys, this has been awesome. I've learned a ton. I learned a ton, man. Man, thank you so much for coming on.
That was a blast, man.
Man Cave, you got any last few words?
No, thanks for having me on. It's great hanging out with you, TJ, man. Really a pleasure.
Great hanging out
and
with
you, of course, Hialeah, but you're old hat to me.
TJ, you got any last words?
No, I'm good. Thank you for having me, though.
Thank you so much, man. I'm so happy I reached out to you and you accepted. Me and Man Cave, we talked a little bit off a couple of weeks ago, and we've been so excited for tonight just to get to hang out with you because neither one of us have been on with you. Of course we've seen you on other channels, and I'm in awe of your collection. I'm in awe of Man Cave's collection. You guys are
2,000, man. That's amazing.
That is
great collection. I love it when TJ starts posting on Instagram, man.
And
your love of painted covers for Gold Key and those stuff, I love that. That's right down my.
Oh, I love painted covers.
That's my, I love those. Those are my childhood, man. I love those.
Two rocks,
Magnus, Robot Fighter type stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard that CGC is actually working on grading pulps in the near future. And when that happens, oh, watch out, because
you're going to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, I want to be.
I know Alex is in the chat. He likes the pulps. He's a big pulp fan.
Yep, those covers are amazing.
I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. I tried to highlight as much as I could. Thank you all for watching, man. This was truly, man. This was awesome.
I appreciate. We'll have to do it again, man.
This was really good. Thank you all for watching. Everybody on the replay, thank you, and take care. TJ, Man Cave, thank you so much. Everybody have a great night. Peace and take care, everybody.